Well, we could say we're happier than ever. You see what I did there?
I'm
Because
very happy to be
we're
here.
very happy because it's Billie Eilish's second album that brings us here. And it's called Happier Than Ever. That's why we are very, very happy.
Happier than ever.
And just a moment ago, I learned how much my guest, Andrea, is a fan of Billie. So can you elaborate a little bit on how much you love Billie Eilish? And I've had you on the podcast before, so
Yes.
welcome back.
Thanks for having me again, David. This is so fun. Yeah, my name's Andrea. She, her. I have a YouTube channel where I talk a lot about music, and I love chatting with David about music. So this is a good opportunity for me to fangirl over Billie Eilish. David, I was late to the train. Like, I didn't really understand Billie for a while.
Same.
But I liked her singles, like Bad Guy. I was like, oh, I love this every time I heard it on the radio. But I'd say in the past like year, I've became like obsessed with her. I just really like what she stands for. I think she's a great role model for young girls. Like, I think if I was 12 right now, she would be my idol, you know? I think that's great for the younger audience. But what really got me was her Apple Music documentary. I watched that and I was like, okay, I feel like I understand her more. I understand her like song production, writing process with her brother Phineas. And of course, they've won like a million Grammys and they're like wicked
Insane.
young.
Yeah, she's only 19. She's going to be 20 at the end of this year.
Yeah, and you know what? That makes me like root for her a lot. Yeah. Like I'm like, I feel like she's my sister, and I'm like, don't mess with her. Do not get in her way. Like, she's rising to the top. I'm standing there applauding.
I was looking at her discography earlier today, and like almost every single one of her songs has like charted or is multi-platinum. And I was like, this girl is on the way to become like one of the best-selling artists ever.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll get into this, but I feel like her songs are very up for interpretation. And I think that is why she's so successful.
Yeah, she mentions it a lot in like her interviews too. That like she wants her fans to like, like she wants her fans to interpret the songs in their own way and be like their own meaning.
Totally. And I love that, because how you interpret a song is different than I interpret a song, than the person listening to this podcast interprets the song. And it just, I don't know, it makes the music so much better that way. So I really like the way she does that, because not every artist can do that.
Yeah, and she does it in such a unique way too, like talking about how she works with her brother Phineas, and like that dream team of the two of them is just insane. And for this album, she put out like 5 singles as promotional singles.
That is something I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's like unheard of.
Kind of nuts. Yeah. Like, I guess I'll just get into how I listened to the album. I actually sat down and watched all the lyric videos. Like, there's a playlist on her YouTube channel. And instead of the lyric videos for some songs, I put the actual music video. Right. And I was like halfway through the album, and I was like, oh my God, there's so many music videos. Like, I feel like artists never do that many. You said there's 5?
Yeah, she had 5 lead singles, and I think all of them have videos for them.
Wow. Yeah, because NDA, but yeah, I think there's 5.
Yeah, it's NDA, My Future, Therefore I Am, Your Power, and Lost Cause.
That's a lot of production, but she got the coin.
She has the money, she's got the backing. And she mentioned in an interview too that I saw that she actually directed NDA. I don't know if you watched that video. Oh my God, I thought it was, well, what did you think? I thought it was pretty wild.
That was one of my notes under that song. I'll read you my note. It says, this music video stresses me out.
Is it because of all the cars?
Yes. I'm like, oh my God, like, in my head, the first time I watched the music video, I couldn't even like pay attention to the song.
I just kept thinking, like, don't hit the pop star.
Don't hit, but she's my younger sister. I protect her, you know. But yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, it's kind of like a dance, like it's very well choreographed. Like I'm sure she's fine. But the whole time I was watching, making sure like they weren't too close to her. And then I was like, Andrea, relax. Like it's professional drivers. But if you haven't seen the NDA music video, watch it and take some deep breaths before because what'd you think of it?
No, I kind of thought it was just so dramatic and very much like anything she does is her. Like anything she does is just her own
Yes.
unique thing,
She's so
especially
authentic.
yeah, especially with the music videos. And it's like she with this album in particular was all about being authentic like you just
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. Like she said a big component was self-reflection and like a lot of these songs kind of came out from her realizing like she felt something and then like went back and was like, "Oh, wait. I didn't know I was feeling that." And
Yes.
it kind of makes sense too with the whole pandemic. Like she probably really took advantage of that artistic freedom and just sunk her teeth into these topics and into these feelings, which she also said in the past she didn't have because her record label like put a lot of pressure on her,
Mm-hmm.
and that this process of making this album is so much more organic and natural.
Yeah, I think it was in the Zane Lowe interview. She was talking about how when she goes to therapy, she like
Yeah.
processes things, and then throughout the week, she's like, "Oh, that makes sense. I should write a song about it." And
Hmm.
I watched that after I'd listened to the album all the way through, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, I think the album does a good job of like each one has its own like message. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And they sound like they belong on the album together,
Hmm.
but if you listen to the meaning, they're very different, you know.
Hmm.
I think
That was
she does a
something
good
else she
job with
said
that.
too. Yeah, she said it's like one of her
Yeah,
biggest goals to make it sound like cohesive, but also that each song stands out on its own in terms of meaning. So I
her
think
and
she
Phineas
understood
did it.
yeah, they understood the assignment.
They understood their own assignment. Yes.
One of the songs too that like I can't get out of my head and that I watched the music video for earlier is Your
I
Power,
hope
which
you're
was one of the other songs that was the lead singles.
yes. Yes. What are my notes on Your Power? Because we that came out before the release, right?
Yeah, like a month or two ago, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's just so I think it's like a moment on the album. Would you agree?
It just then the music video complements this. It just like shuts everything out. Like it really pulls you in. And a lot of the songs on the album too are very, very soft. They're very simple. She kind of wanted to do this thing of recreating like an older aesthetic, like going back to like singers from like the 40s and stuff. And I
I
think that
hear that.
she really did that, especially with Your Power. And this like the context of the song too is like insane. Like I feel like she's talking about like somebody in music because she mentioned something about losing your contract. I don't know if you caught that.
I didn't, no.
Yeah,
But
she's
I feel like it is. I wonder
could
who.
be. And it kind of sounds funny because a lot of the songs on the album sound like they're directed towards like some kind of love interest figure, whoever, like at
Billie,
least
send me the address.
yeah, like who like it's and going back to her being so young, we're like, where is this coming from? Like
Mm.
it's a lot of deeper content. Was there a song that you were gonna mention specifically? Was it different than Your Power?
I have to, I can't believe this isn't the first thing. I've been holding it in my excitement to talk about this. So thanks for that segue.
Yes.
Happier Than Ever.
Yeah.
That is such a good song. Like
Yes.
I was listening to it and the songs in the album as a whole are like kind of slower.
Hmm.
And I was waiting for that like boom moment, you know?
Yeah.
And I was listening to Happier Than Ever. And if you've listened to the song, you know the beginning is like kind of slow, kind of calm.
Hmm.
And then it built this huge thing. I don't even know. I can't even put a finger on it. I have to listen to it more because we've only lived with it for a couple days. But oh my God. And the music video, have you watched the Happier Than Ever music video?
I did. That also like threw me when it's just like her in the house on the phone and then opens the door and it's like flooding.
Yeah. And then she like does the big part, like standing on the roof of the house that was flooded.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like yelling the words with her. I'm just like, yeah, like I feel this with you. Yeah, I think the songwriting is spectacular. I think the production on it is amazing. The music video was so good. Like
Mm-hmm.
very well thought out. It did kind of have that like 40s vibe, like she
Mm-hmm.
was talking. You said she has mentioned that, like
Yeah.
the furniture and stuff is like older and oh, I need to take a breath. I'm just like, I just love that song so
Exhausting.
much.
And
I could not wait to talk to you about it.
when I was watching that video too, I just for some reason thought of like this is like an Avril Lavigne moment. Like somebody who's just like saying it like it is in like a total female like empowerment
Mm-hmm.
fashion. And I was like, it just reminded me of that. Like
You
I don't
know
know
what
how
it
else to
reminds me
describe it.
of? It kind of gives me Brutal Vibes by Olivia Rodrigo. Do you know
Okay,
that
I
song?
see. Yeah.
Where it's kind of like we're shouting, we're like getting it out, getting out our emotions, you know? I don't
Hmm.
know. And I just, damn, I'm gonna listen to that song for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that song was just awesome. And I think like some of the other songs too kind of follow like a similar fashion where it was like they started out one way and then they
Mm,
ended kind of different. I can't remember exactly like some other ones, but I really like how she well, another song I really, really liked right after Happier Than Ever was Male Fantasy. And that was a song that Billie had said
mm,
like pretty much wrote itself. And what I mentioned earlier about her like processing her feelings and like writing something and be like, I didn't even know I felt that. Like I love
yeah.
that song because it like flips the whole script of what she's
Mm-hmm.
been saying. Like she's singing everything kind of from her perspective, and then we get to this last song and it's like, well, this is the other perspective. And I just thought it was mind-blowing to end with that.
I thought I kind of was like, okay, after I heard Happier Than Ever, I listened to the album chronologically. I was like, okay, it should be done. Like,
Hmm.
what's this male fantasy thing? But I think it was kind of like a nice bonus track,
I could
you
see
know?
that.
In my head, I feel like it was kind of like that. But I think it really like stretched her like songwriting skills, which I'd
Yep.
love to hear. Like, is that like the key to the next chapter? You know how artists sometimes the last song is like a hint to like their next album, you know? I would
Ooh.
love to see more of that, Billy. Love to see it. Um, yeah, it's definitely a unique song.
Hmm. Something else I just picked up on too, I was listening to it again before we got on, was the concepts of talking about like how fame has impacted her.
That
And
I feel
like,
like that's what the whole album's about.
yeah, it's definitely like a huge component. And like, Therefore I Am, which was another one of the lead singles that she released, is another song that talks about like critics and haters. And like, she's basically like mocking people that are like, why are you all up in my business? Like, you don't need to know like all this stuff about me.
Okay, but that is a really good example of how she writes a song about fame, but little old me from, you know, Massachusetts can greatly relate to it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's people in my life where I'm just like I'm me, like get out of my way, you
Hmm.
know? And like I think everyone like has kind of had a moment like that. So to hear Billy also be like, yeah, like I feel that way too sometimes. I'm just like, yeah, like it's
Yeah.
just it creates a great bond over a song.
Hmm. And I also loved Getting Older, which was the first track on the album. And it talked about how, like, kind of same thing with going through the industry and probably being so young and saying, like, the stuff I used to do used to be like so fun. And now it's like I'm doing it for a job,
Yeah, what does she say?
essentially.
I do it for like employment or
Yeah, that's
something.
the line that I was like, oh shit, like, that's some deep stuff.
I'm
Like,
just
and
like,
there's been
damn.
so many artists too that comment on that. Like, Beyonce was one of
Mhm.
them, and like her album, I think, like, Beyonce, she commented on it. And like
Yeah, and
so
isn't
many artists are like, yeah, we're just doing this for money, but do we still enjoy it?
yeah, it's I mean, I don't know what that's really like,
Mm,
but your whole life is your brand. Damn, that's gotta be tough. But again, we all relate to getting older and like
mm,
our past selves are so like naive and innocent, so happy. And then we grow up a little more and we're like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear her like perspective on fame with all of that, because there's also another line, it's not in that song, where she's like, oh, you thought I'd show up alone, I like had to bring security or something.
Oh, I don't know which one that's in either, but I
But
think I remember
yeah,
hearing it.
the
Yeah.
album's still really fresh to us, we're still learning all the lyrics, but
Yep.
it's just like, oh, like she can't go anywhere. She like bought a
Yeah.
house, a secret house that like literally no one knows about, because that's what you have to do when you're that famous, I guess. Like that's the society. I feel like now is a good time for me to bring up my love of Not My Responsibility.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask about that one too, the spoken word one.
Oh my, I literally jaw to the floor. Like that song blew my mind.
I was
Like,
like, what the hell is this? Like when I first heard it.
because it she's not singing, she's like speaking,
Yeah.
like you said, but the message, David, oh my god, like she really made me think. I said in my notes, this messed me up, 3 exclamation points, so good,
That's how
blew
you
my
know it's
line.
real.
And I said that last line gave me goosies. When she's like, maybe all of this stuff society makes me feel, how I look, how I act, how I dress, it's not my responsibility. Like that's on you. I was like, oh my, because there's a line in the beginning. I wrote it down. This had cultural impact on me. Okay.
I could see.
She goes, you have opinions about my opinions.
Yes, that's right.
I was like, oh my, like I have opinions about others' opinions, and that makes me opinionated. But why? Like, why do we do that?
She's making us think.
Oh my, I'm not kidding. It really blew my mind. I need to like really dissect that one because
Oh yeah. It's funny because when I heard the album, I think for the second time, and this also feeds into the theme of being very philosophical. And I don't know how much of a fan you are of her, or like know her music, but I felt like this was very reminiscent of like a Lana Del Rey album in terms of like those types of concepts, and just also sonically because it is so much softer.
Well,
And like,
didn't Lana put out a like poetry, like a spoken word album?
I don't know, actually, she
I
might
think
have. I'd
she
have to look
did.
that up.
So this is a Lana vibe. I like Lana. I'm not a huge fan of her. I'm not like obsessed with her or anything. I respect her, but I see that like parallel between her and Billie,
And it is
especially
an
with
album that this album you need to listen to over and over again.
yeah.
I was like, you can't just listen to it once. You need to listen to it, as Billie said, like in someone's car with good speakers while it's raining, and just
Yeah.
divulge, dissect, and digest. That's all I could say.
It sounds really different in a car than it sounds on a TV, than it sounds in your headphones. I don't know how they do that, but Phineas, you're onto something.
He's a genius. They're
He
both
really is a
geniuses.
genius. Yeah, they're both wicked smart. Oh my god, I can't wait to see where their careers go.
Me too.
Yeah, and then Not My Responsibility leads into Overheated, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of
it
like the
does.
intro.
Yeah. And they like flow together also really well. Like,
yeah,
just
because
saying.
like, yeah, I'm overheated about how your issues are not my responsibility.
And you definitely know for sure she probably did that intentionally.
Of course, yeah. I wrote under overheated, my notes say valid. Your feelings are valid, Billie.
Your feelings are valid.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I feel like the more we're talking about it, the more I'm like, wow, that's really about her fame, ain't it?
Yeah, I definitely think that's the common thread throughout all of it, and the biggest theme, like we said, through self-reflection that she's really presenting.
Which is funny because in that Vivo interview you sent me, she was like, I don't want to interpret anyone's what did she say? I don't want to influence anyone's
Opinion, yeah.
interpretation of my song. I want them to do it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you mean, Billy? Tell me what you think.
I know it's interesting because when I was looking up and writing the notes on each of the songs, I was like, every song kind of has an intention, like an intentional thing that it's talking about. But then when you throw that, you're like, wait, maybe she's right. Maybe like there is another way to interpret it. But that's also the beauty of art, is like you can interpret it a million different ways.
Totally. Totally. That's why we love it.
Oh yeah, we love it. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for coming on and talking about Happier Than Ever.
I could talk about this for hours. So everyone go stream it and let us know your thoughts.
Yes, definitely stream it anywhere, and definitely check out those interviews too.
They're
And if you
so
get a chance,
insightful.
and if you get a chance, you have to check out Andrea's YouTube channel.
Yes, come on over. Say hi.
Well, thanks again, Andrea. I appreciate it.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me.